turn your attention up here. Welcome to the CEGU open house. Our plan today is to talk to you about the CEGU major. So I think we have a lot of new or prospective majors. I see some older majors here, and we will introduce you to everybody connected with CEGU today. So I'll just start. I'm Sabina Shack. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Studies, Director of Academic Programs for CEGU. So you can talk to me about anything related to CEGU. You probably have heard from Tess Conway here, Student Affairs Administrator, the one who emails you, asking you for things and answers all your questions. I'll just go around and introduce everyone I see here. Evan Carver, who is a professor here, teaches Sustainable Urban Development, advises Expositions Magazine, which you'll hear more about later. There's Ariana and Anna are two instructional assistants who you should get to know through your classes, and they're at our events. Ray Lodato, Professor Lodato is here, who you will take many classes with him in your time. Are there any other faculty and staff? Thank you to our student interns, Kelly and Daphne, for helping with all our events and putting them. And our chair, Neil Brenner, the chair of CEGU, who you'll get to know from classes as well. So I'm gonna ask Neil to start actually, because he's here, and tell you what CEGU is all about. What is it? Why are we here? Why are we want to study CEGU? And just give you a little bit of background before we get into the specifics of the major and everything.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Super happy to see you. How many of you are already majoring in CEGU? You've already decided? Couple. And how many of you are like, oh, what is this? And some of you might just be like, there's food and it's vegan and I want it. Welcome, everyone. We're super happy to have you here. So as Sabina said, I'm the chair of CEGU. My appointment's in the sociology department. And we set CEGU up, as many of you will know, a couple of years ago. And its particular history we can tell you on another occasion. But the bottom line is that there are a lot of people in the social sciences and in the humanities and beyond at this fine university who are thinking in kind of critical, heterodox ways about questions of environment and society across time and space. So what do I mean when I say heterodox, and what do I mean when I say critical? And that'll be basically my introduction to CEGU. So heterodox, what I mean by that is that we are committed, to studying society and environment using a lot of different methods. And part of what we want to do here is expose all of you to the different methods, qualitative, quantitative, historical, geographical, that we use to study environment and society in order to think about urgent environmental problems and crises, including, of course, climate change and biodiversity loss. So some programs and majors will really expose you to one or a couple different methods, and you really learn the method, and then you always apply that method. And we care about diving deep into particular methods, but what we care most about is exposing you to a variety of different methods, because the kinds of challenges and problems that emerge in our society around environment require a kind of nimble flexibility. So majoring in CEGU, you'll get exposed to a lot of different methods, and you'll become reflexive about method. In other words, instead of just being like an expert in a single method, you'll be able to ask the question, what method do I need in order to think about this problem? And most likely the way that you will think about such things is pluralistic. In other words, you will not just adopt a single method, you will always be interested in deploying multiple kinds of methods. So that's the heterodoxy, which I think is important to a lot of our faculty, and in a lot of the classes, if not all the classes you take with us, you'll just get that exposure. And it's just this idea of like, I have a toolkit of different methods, and you always have to dig into that toolkit to look for different kinds of tools for different kinds of questions that you pose. That's really important to us. The critical is basically that it's pretty simple to summarize. In general, our faculty in CEGU believe that the existing arrangements in society and related to our environmental conditions are deeply problematic and need to be radically reinvented. So we're interested in social change, we're interested in questions of environmental justice, and we're interested in really reorganizing how we relate to, build upon, and mediate and transform environment. And that takes place in a lot of different ways within our classes, within our community. but CEGU is definitely a major which is deeply committed to social critique as a constitutive part of thinking about environment. And maybe I'll say one other thing. I said I would just focus on heterodoxy and critique, but really important to both of those things, I think in a lot of our classes, would be questions of theory. And what I mean by that is that we're really interested in CEGU in the interpretive frameworks that we use to study society and environment and also to influence society and environment. And a lot of the work that we do in CEGU is premised on the idea that contemporary forms of environmental crisis and environmental injustice are closely intermeshed with the interpretive framework that we use to study and to influence such things. So you'll get exposed in our classes to theoretical perspectives, a variety of different theoretical perspectives that help us interpret the origins of contemporary environmental crises, and that also effectively shape ongoing struggles and strategies to reinvent really the world, reinvent planetary and very local environmental relations. So welcome to our community for those of you who are new. And you're going to hear about the major and about different activities and events that we engage with. But we're delighted to have you, and we're all, as you already know, for those of you who have been here before, and for those of you who are new, you'll see there's a lot of energy and urgency within this group around these matters, because climate change, biodiversity loss, environmental justice are related to really everything in our world, and we think that kind of pedagogy that we can do in this program can be a basis on which to also engage in social change, which is very much a part of what we stand for. So thanks to all of you, and we look forward to engaging with any questions that you have.
Thank you, Neil. So I think Tess is going to walk us through the major very quickly, because all this information is on our website, and she's going to share these slides with you. So I'm going to turn over to Tess.
Hey everybody, as Sabina said, I'm the Student Affairs Administrator for CEGU, so I'm basically the person you'll come to when you want to declare your major and sort of throughout your process on your path to graduation. I send updates about important deadlines, things like that. Basically, you'll get a ton of emails from me if you decide to major in CEGU. So this is just an overview of what I'm about to talk through, so I'll just skip this slide. Starting with our foundation sequence. So all of our majors will take climate change, environment, society, the politics of environmental knowledge, and global environmental change. In addition to that, everyone will also take a foundations options course, which is just a list of approved courses that we believe are sort of foundational courses to the major overall. You'll also see on the last slide that we offer 3 thematic tracks. We'll also dive into that a bit, but for students who do choose to do one of our thematic tracks, which just to point them out here, urban environmental studies, energy histories and geographies, and environmental humanities, your foundations option course will be from an even smaller list of approved courses that are specific to that track. And then next up is our method sequence. So all students will take Introduction to Critical Spatial Media, Visualizing Urban, Environmental, and Planetary Change. In addition to that, you'll take a methods option course, again, from an approved list of courses. That second methods option course, if you are in one of those tracks, will be specific to that track as well. So you'll take a methods course that goes with either urban environmental studies, environmental humanities, or environmental histories and geographies. Next up is all of our electives. So all students will have 5 CEGU electives, which is a huge list of super interesting courses, basically anything that you see that has a CEGU cross list. And those will be more advanced courses in environmental social science and environmental humanities. Again, for those CEGU majors who opt to specialize in a thematic track, 3 of those 5 electives will be from a selected smaller menu of courses that are specific to each track. This is just to give you an idea of our winter courses that are coming up. These are just the ones that we parent within this department, but we have a ton of other courses that we cross-list in other departments across the university. And here's just some other sample courses that are offered through the major, just to give you an idea of what this major looks like, what our coursework looks like. And we also have printed winter brochures back there by the catering. You might have seen it by all the sandwiches. That is a selection of these courses that are coming up in winter so that you can, check them out and maybe sign up for some of them. Next is that optional thematic track I mentioned. Again, urban environmental studies, energy histories and geographies, and environmental humanities. You can learn more about all the tracks and the different courses that are in each track on our website. And then all students will also choose to do either a BA thesis or a capstone. The important thing to consider is that both tracks, no matter what, will be 2 courses, whether that's for the BA thesis, that's BA Colloquium 1, that is in the fall of your 4th year, and then BA Colloquium 2 is in the winter of your 4th year. It's also important to mention that in your 3rd year, you have to apply to do a thesis. And if you're in your 3rd year, there's also an information session in the winter quarter that is required. That's where we dive in more about sort of the difference between the two and sort of help you decide which track you want to go with. For the capstone, it's the same thing. It's actually changing for next year. It's going to be a community study, which means that you will take the capstone sequence. That would be CEGU Capstone Colloquium 1 in the fall, CEGU Capstone Colloquium 2 in the winter. That 2-course sequence will engage students in a key field of urban environmental practice in the Chicago region, which culminates in a spring project showcase. And then for students who are interested in minoring in the major, you will take 3 of those foundations courses I talked through. You get to choose which 3, and then you also choose 3 electives, really anything with a CEGU cross list. And then I'll pass it off to you.
So if you're interested in, we went really fast through all the courses. Like Tess said, you can grab one of these course brochures. This is just for winter. All the rest of our courses are on the website, and you can learn more about those. You could talk to the instructors afterwards. We have a lot of other things that we offer. One of the foundations of our programs is experiential learning. So some of you probably already participated in one of our September terms. We offer one in Berlin that Professor Carver teaches. We offer one in Illinois at the Midway Tallgrass Prairie. And then there's a couple study abroad courses. I don't know if any of you, well, probably not. Some of you did the Paris Urbanism Quarter before. We're offering that again this quarter right now, and again 2 years from now. The Calumet Quarter, I don't think any of our Calumet Quarter instructors are here, but this is an amazing opportunity to get this immersive, intensive field study in urban ecology on the southeast side of Chicago. So it won't be running again until spring 2026. So I'll tell you a lot more about it then. If you go to our website, you'll see there's a nice feature on it in the UChicago magazine. So all about the Calumet Quarter. But we spend a lot of time out in the field, everything from being out on the dunes in the Indiana dunes to touring like old and current industrial facilities in the area. And focus a lot on sort of environmental justice and like restored landscapes and conservation practices in the region. The Chicago Studies quarters still happen too, I think. That's a question for Chicago Studies, but okay, so a couple other things I want to mention that are opportunities for all of you is that as of last year, the year before we started, a set of CEGU grants and prizes. So we have the Charles M. Gray Research Fellowship for 3rd-year students. So how many of you are 3rd-year students currently? Okay, so you want to be thinking about this now. As Tess said, you'll be applying for your thesis in the spring, and around the same time, you'll be thinking about applying, if you want to, you'll be applying for fellowships. So we have the Gray Fellowships, and we have the Rita Kopp Family Environmental Research Grants. So these are fellowships that are available to 3rd-year students to use your summer between your 3rd and your 4th year to start doing thesis research. So if you want to travel, if you want to go to a different location, we've had students go to other parts of the country, to other parts of the world, to start doing their research. If you're thinking about doing that and doing a thesis, as Tess said, there's an information session in the winter, and there's a application in the spring, but I would encourage everyone to start thinking about it now and talk to our thesis advisor, Professor Kendall, who just got here, who's probably going to say a few more words about it at the end. Okay, so all this information is on our website. Other things that we do that we hope that you can all take part in is we have a lot of student and public events. We just had an event, we had an event on Monday, we had an event last week, we have more coming up. We have a big annual conference every spring. And we have Expositions Magazine, which I don't have one right with me, but they're back there. Someone wants to hold one up. You've all seen this. I know there's many Exposition students here. I will let Professor Carver talk about that in a second. Chicago Studies, if you haven't engaged in Chicago Studies, you might have already. Anyone who did an urban hike or the South Side bike ride with Professor Boyer. All those things are run by Chicago Studies. They're just one hallway over here, and we work very closely with them. They also offer opportunities to support Chicago-based research, if any of you are interested in it. You can see the pop-up gallery on the wall that Chicago Studies is a Chicago Studies installation, so take a look at that as well. And they have probably nearly weekly events. So if you want to engage with the city of Chicago, which I encourage everyone to do, check out Chicago Studies. We have a undergraduate run endowed speaker series called the Frizzell Series, an environmental law practicum, which is, you would think about that for next year because they're already running for this year. It's an application-based opportunity to work with students in the law school on actual cases around Chicago, generally environmental justice cases in the east side of Chicago. I think I mentioned most of the things. Every Friday, not every Friday, almost every Friday, every other Friday, we have a CEGU colloquium, which is mostly PhD students in the CEGU certificate program presenting their research. So great opportunity again. They're generally held upstairs. There's lunch, but a great opportunity to learn about CEGU research from the grad students that are involved. Okay, so I am going to, I guess, turn it over to, I don't know who's up next, Evan or Topher. Maybe Professor Carville just say a couple words about expositions and then turn it over to Professor Kendall.
Thanks, Sabina. Yeah, so here's a cover of one of the recent issues of Expositions. I hope there's some other copies out there. Anyway, what Expositions is a magazine. And I would say the fundamental philosophy behind it is that as dedicated as we are to all those approaches that Neil kind of introduced, it would be a kind of a failing if those ideas about the world like remained in the classroom, if we just sort of were stuck with the arcane kind of language of theory. If we only trained you how to write for the kinds of venues that professors write for, the Journal of, environmental philosophy or whatever that, does not get read by very many people, that would be a failing. So the idea of expositions is that we're addressing these issues, but we're using the tools of journalism and creative writing to persuade, perhaps, but above all to inform and to move a more general readership about issues of the city, about issues of the environment, and so on. So this is basically a magazine populated entirely with student writing, student photography, student illustrations, student-made maps about a variety of important issues in urban spaces and environments around Chicago and around the world. Our next issue that will be coming out in a few weeks is actually a Chicago focused issue on the history of 63rd Street nearby. I'm happy to talk more about this if you want to get involved. There's many ways to get involved. I listed sort of some of the components of the magazine. So there's editorial jobs, there's graphics jobs, illustration jobs, production-based jobs. So there's a lot of different ways to get involved with the creation of the magazine. But one of the best ways to get involved is to write for the magazine also. So we're always looking for new submissions. So I'm happy to talk more about that with anyone who's interested. But I also wanted to introduce several of the student team members who are present today, in case you find them to be more accessible, which would be understandable. So Hugh is our managing editor, Kelly, Daphne, Lena, Noam was here earlier. So you can talk to any of them about expositions as well. And Carlo, of course, Carlo, who's not here, is a very important figure in CEGU who you'll get to know at some point. I guess I'll hand it over to Professor Kendall to talk about the thesis.
Okay, cool. So In contrast to the community field study or the capstone program, you also have the opportunity to do a BA thesis in CEGU. Broadly speaking, the process begins around winter of your third year. You go to a BA thesis info session where you learn the ins and outs, learn about the ins and outs of the BA thesis process. At the beginning of spring, you will then submit a BA thesis application in your beginning of spring of your third year. And it's basically answering a list of questions that sort of guide you toward a central research question that you would want to investigate during your fourth year at U Chicago. There are a handful of brainstorming sessions that we hold at the end of winter and the beginning of spring to help you think through that process so that you're not just kind of thrown into the deep end and expected to come up with a research question and a topic that's going to sustain you for a year. There is a lot of guidance that goes into this. And so be on the lookout for those BA thesis in workshops or brainstorming sessions. Over the summer, you'll then complete a 10-entry annotated bibliography and possibly conduct much of your research for your BA thesis. So if you plan on interacting with human subjects and conducting interviews, many of the students in my class right now did much of that over the summer. They're also completing that in the fall and early winter of this year. And then in the fall, you'll take BA Colloquium 1, followed by BA Colloquium 2 in the winter. In the fall, you work towards the completion of a 15 to 20 page prospectus or proposal where you lay out all of the questions that you have and all of the ways you plan to answer said questions. And then in the winter, you really focus on the writing process. So we have a handful of peer review sessions that are in class each week so that you get constant feedback from your peers and feedback from myself and our instructional assistants who help out with the class as well. If you have any questions about topics that would be appropriate for a BA thesis, I encourage you to come and speak with me or with any other faculty member in CEGU. You'll have a faculty advisor in addition to me as your instructor. And your faculty advisor is the person that should be able to guide you through that process when you start thinking about sort of larger topics for your thesis. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I have missed.
Just saying, they can talk to you.
Oh, yes. So in addition to myself, I'm happy to chat with anyone about the BA thesis process today, but we also have a handful of students who are currently in the thesis program. Do you mind raising your hands if you are in the thesis program? So we have Hugh, Lena, Ava, and Owen in the back. They'll be around for the next 15 minutes or so to sort of chat with you about their experiences. But again, like I said, feel free to reach out to me if you have any follow-up questions. I'm always happy to chat about it.
Thank you.
Okay, quickly, I just wanted to let you know that all of this information is on our website. Here's all the people who you can contact anybody in CEGU, but these are specific roles. And, you know, if you want questions about advising or about courses, you can contact any of us about thesis. You just heard from Professor Kendall. Professor Pudup, who's not here because she's teaching right now, she is the Director of Community Studies and the Capstone Coordinator. So you would talk to her about Capstone. Again, you can talk to any of us about any of this. All our office hours are on the website as well, and you can book directly on the website. So I wanted to, before we go to Q&A, introduce two more people who are just going to say a few words. We have Jenna from the CCRF, which is the Chicago Center for Research and Fellowships.
Hi, yeah, thanks for giving me the question. So yeah, I'm Jenna. I'm the Fellowships Advisor with the College Center for Research and Fellowships. If you're not familiar, I know a couple of you are familiar with our office, but if you're not familiar with our operation, we do two things. We help students pursue faculty mentored undergraduate research and apply for nationally competitive. So, okay, I'm not part of CEGU. What am I doing here? I'm here because as CEGU students, you are asking really pressing questions and doing really significant research and taking really necessary action. And I just want you to know that our office is here to support you in all of those efforts. So we offer research programming and grants to help you go deeper into the questions and issues that motivate you. And we connect you with fellowships and scholarship opportunities that can allow you to have the impact in the world that you want to have. So I'll just kind of wrap up by saying we work with CEGU students all the time in our like quad and College Summer Institute research programs, and also in processes for national fellowships, like the UNL scholarship, which pro tip is specifically for environmental work. And the Truman Scholarship for Public Service, you know, which absolutely embraces environmental work, and many others. So I just would encourage you to connect with our office or connect with me tonight, because we would love to work with each and every one of you and help you achieve what you want to achieve. So yeah, thanks again. Thanks for having me.
And then I just wanted to give a few minutes to one of our students. I think the first declared CEGU major, Ava Henniker, is going to tell you about a new RSO on campus.
Well, yeah, I'm Ava. I'm the president of a new club called CEGU Planning. So basically what we're doing is trying to like have a space on campus where people can learn about different urban planning topics. Second week, we had our first event with some urban planners in the field that are working with Chicago, just like talk to us about like, their experiences. And last week we had a grad student event, which actually was really interesting. And we had someone from USC, we had someone from Columbia, Harvard. Yeah, and it was really cool. So I'm just here to like tell you like if you're interested, like please come talk to me. We have events usually every Tuesday, 5 to 6. Our next big event though will be Wednesday, the day after election day. Where we're gonna have a book talk with Serena and Emily Tellen about their book, like Our Urban Future. We're also thinking of having, because we're tied with the Minnesota Institute of Urban Innovation, so we're gonna have like a networking event with like postdocs. But yeah, if you're interested in urban planning, this is definitely like the club for you. And also because we're so newly founded, like if you want to help like shape an organization, definitely like this is your opportunity because we really want to make sure that like the events and like things we do like cater to what students are interested in. We also are gonna have a campus planning team next quarter, so thank you for that too. But yeah, our Instagram was of the dot. Yeah.
Thanks, Ava. Yeah, thank you. So as Ava mentioned, we'll be doing a book talk the day after the election. I'm sure no one's going to want to talk about our book, but we will we'll talk about other related things. Yeah, so I guess we're just at Q&As. Any questions about the major, about any specific courses, about anything at all? You don't have to do it in this format either. We can mingle about and talk. Well, yes.
What are the benefits of doing like a specialization?
Yeah, I guess the first question I have for Tess is what percentage of students are doing specialized tracks?
I think it's majority general, but urban environmental track is very popular.
So the majority of our students, which I thought, do the general CEGU major without one of the specialized tracks. The urban environmental track, which is consists of a lot of Professor Farber's courses and others, is the most popular one of the tracks. I would say that it's really up to you. The general track offers a bit more flexibility. So if you're interested in, you know, taking a deep dive into one of those specific tracks, I would recommend the track because then you can orient, you can choose from a menu that's been curated to focus on that particular subject matter. It doesn't preclude you from taking other CEGU courses, but it might serve you well if you're thinking about a thesis, say, in related to environmental humanities, and you want to sort of focus in on that track. But it's completely optional. As we said, most students do the general major because they appreciate the flexibility. Some students will do the general major and find that they've completed the track, right? But it's really up to you. And we expect as we go forward that we'll have more tracks just as we build capacity, as we add new courses, as we see where student interest lies. I don't know if anyone else wants to add to that.
I usually say it's good for a CV. You know, know that you have certain specialization.
But the menu metaphor is good. It's just kind of a way, there's so many classes. There's so many classes.
Yeah.
The ones that we originate, but also cross those classes. So it's really just kind of like a way of organizing that. You know, it's like when you go to a restaurant, you're really in the mood for pasta. Oh, there's a pasta section. Ah, I know where I should be looking. It's just, think of it like that. It's just a way of organizing the vast offering.
Any other questions? Well, I encourage you to mingle, talk to the faculty, the students who are here, to talk about just their experience in CEGU or expositions or thesis. Yeah, any other announcements from anyone? Any of the students or? All right, well, hopefully we can stick around for a little bit and, yeah, we'll be here.
Great, thanks again.
Make sure, thank you.